So it's going to be 4x minus 6x
Beautiful.
equals to 10 plus 2.
What
Then
happens when we move that 2 over?
it becomes a negative.
Yeah, it does. But don't worry, you can do it from here. So let's look at the left. What would 4x minus 6x become?
It would be negative 2.
Good. And then on the right, what would 10 minus 2 become?
8.
Good. And now we're going to divide by our coefficient. And so what is x going to become?
It's going to be 4.
Is it positive or negative 4?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. Just be careful because we've got a positive answer and a negative answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, nice job. Good.
Thank you.
Okay, let's have a look at question 2. And then we're going to dive into our work for today. Oh, I have some questions. Offense. Oh, I think Offense is dealing with audio. Mr. Strongway, can you help with that?
Awesome.
Tubelihle, how can I help?
Ma'am, can I do the second one?
Yes, I'd love that. Talk me through what to do.
So you're going to say 3 times 2x.
Good.
And then you're going to say minus 9.
Excellent.
And then you're going to say plus 6.
Okay. Where do I go to from here?
And then you go on the other side.
Okay, so I'm going to keep my 6x on the side, and then what am I going to write here on the right hand side?
You're going to say 9.
Yeah.
Minus 6.
Yeah.
Plus 9.
Good.
Nice.
And then you're going to keep your 6x, and then you're going to say 12.
Good.
And then to remove your 6, you have to divide it by 6.
Good.
Then you're also going to divide the 12 by 6.
And so my final answer is going to be?
And your x will equal to 2.
Excellent. Well done. Nice job. Excellent. Excellent. You said that so beautifully. Well done. Okay, guys, so that is just a quick recap of what we started on Tuesday, and we are now going to have a look at some quadratics. I know I brought this all up, but I know we have new people in each lesson, so I'm just going to sort of remind everyone again. Just remember that this class is quite a big class, so the best way to communicate with us is through the chat, because we can see what you're saying. If you have a question, both Mr. Strongway and I are watching the chat, so hopefully one of us will pick it up. You also can help each other through the chat, which is great. And if you would like to answer a question, or if you have something that you're uncertain about and you didn't write it in the chat, just use the little hands up emoji, and then we'll call on you when we get a chance and you can talk to us. Okay, please don't put up the hand emoji unless you're wanting to speak. So if you're wanting to answer the question and you don't want to speak, you can just put your answer straight in the chat for us. Okay, so if we see the hand up emoji, we're going to think you're going to want to talk to us, and I'm going to ask you to unmute. So if you don't want to do that, then don't put up the hand. Okay, cool. Let's get moving then. So today we are going to move into quadratic equations. Who can tell me what quadratic equations means? Like, just simply, what, like something that when you see a quadratic equation, what is something we think about? Or that we've maybe have learned at school? Uyabongwa.
Ma'am,
I think it has 2. Okay.
No, you're right. Uvuzo, you need to put your hand up if you're wanting to ask. Uyabongwa, carry on talking.
I think it has 2 answers.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so when we have a quadratic equation, we want to have 2 answers. Avuzwa, yes. What would you like to add?
Ma'am, perhaps quadratics, ma'am, maybe might also have 4 terms in between in the expression, ma'am.
Yeah, sometimes we can have 4 terms in the expression. Absolutely. The most important, and we can have 3 terms of fancy. All of those things are correct. Sometimes we can have 2 terms. But the most important thing with quadratic equations is that we're going to have this, I can't stress this enough. Whenever we have a quadratic equation, we have an x squared involved. And when we have an x squared involved, it means we need to factorize. And we're going to get 2 answers. Now, sometimes our answers are the same as each other. So we could have like x is equal to 1, x is equal to 1, but we will always get 2 answers. So that's like the fundamental thing about quadratic equations. Now, I've started with something nice and easy just to sort of dip our toes into. So I've already factorized this for you. This has already been factorized. Okay? So all I've got over here is I've got x minus 3 in one bracket, and then I've got x plus 2 in my other bracket, and I know that that is equal to 0. And I'm wanting to know what my 2 values for x are in this situation. Now, we know that when something is equal to 0, okay, it means that I have to have multiplied something by 0. So for example, 4 times 0 is 0, or 0 times 4 is 0. So when I'm making something equal to 0, I'm saying that either this bracket is equal to 0 or this bracket is equal to 0. That's the power of making something equal to 0 when I'm multiplying on the left-hand side. And once I've done that step, I've actually made things really nice and easy for myself, because now I just have a linear equation like we spoke about on Tuesday, and I can just move that number onto the other side and say, okay, that means that x is equal to 3 or x is equal to -2. Okay, so those of you who are saying, you just told me that quadratic equations are x squared and I don't have an x squared here. But remember, I've already factorized this. So the original question here would have definitely been x squared minus x minus 6. That's what it would have looked like. I've just done the factorizing step for you. Okay. How are we feeling so far? Does anyone have any questions just about what I have on the board? This should just be like a stepping stone. It should be bringing back some memories from last year. Okay, good. Good, good, good. In that case, I would like to know what my answer is going to be here. And now I would like to warn you that I've been a little bit tricky here. And this is actually not a quadratic equation. This is a cubic equation. But I'd like to know my answers here. Mike, how can I help?
Can I try?
Give the answer for this one.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you multiply x with x.
Okay, so Mike, so we're not going to want to multiply these now. This has already been factorized for us. So we have everything as simplified as we need to. Now we're just wanting to find what our answers are for x. So we're not going to do distribution here.
Oh, okay.
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 Nomwaze, I can try and move a little bit slower, but if you're struggling, then ask Mr. Shongwe if he can help you so that we can see where we're going from there. Okay. Okay, so in this case, the difference is that I don't actually have 2 x's. I now have 3 x's. And so if I have 3 x's, I'm going to get 3 answers. That's where we need to be careful. So a quadratic means I have an x squared involved, which means there would be 2 answers. And if I have an x cubed involved, I'm going to have 3 answers. Now, remember, I've done the hard work for you so far with this one. I've already factorized it. So all we have to do is find our 3 answers for x. Can you please put in the chat what you guys think our 3 answers for x are going to be here? Remember that there will be 3. Okay, Nkosi, that's a great answer for one of them. Okay, so Nkosi saying that we know that x minus 4 must be equal to 0, which means x is equal to 4. Absolutely, that's one answer. I'm looking for 2 more. Seko, absolutely. Okay, x plus 9 needs to equal 0, which means x would be equal to -9. That is my second answer. Keep them coming in the chat, guys. Last answer here, Jabula, lovely, excellent. This one over here, There's no bracket for me to use, but it is being multiplied. And so my last answer here would be that x is equal to 0. So we're just saying that this guy is equal to 0. So we've got answer number 1, answer number 2, answer number 3. Those are our 3 that we are looking at here. Okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions on this one? Chosi, sorry, I see your hand is up. Can I help? Okay, Nokobonga.
Ma'am, if we have an x after the bracket, like before the bracket, is it always equal to 0?
Yes, every single time.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Let's try another one. I've tried to trick you here. Don't fall for my trap. Okay. I'm wanting to know, first of all, how many x's are there in this equation? 1, 2, or 3 x's? You can just give me your answers in the chat so we can be nice and quick. 22. Yes, there are 2. There are 2 x's. So if I have 2 x's, that means I'm going to have 2 answers. So just be careful with that. Don't fall for my trap. Nkosi, excellent. Okay, I'm going to divide by 2. Now, if I divide by 2 on this side, so I'm dividing by 2 and I'm dividing by 2, okay, this 2 and that 2 cancel and they go away. And 0 divided by 2 is just 0. So all I'm left with is x plus 1, x plus 7, and that is equal to 0. Okay, and that should be nice and easy from this point onwards.
Ma'am,
Yes.
I didn't do that, but I got the answers.
Did you just ignore the 2?
Yes.
That's totally fine.
Okay.
Chosi, I see your hand is up again. Are you going to ask your question now? Okay, so when we're working through this question, now that we're at this point over here, we're going to say, well, this bracket must be equal to 0, which means x would be -1, or this bracket is going to be equal to 0. So x plus 7 is going to be 0, which means x is going to be -7. Okay, so those would be our 2 answers in this situation. Cool. Let's try move. Sorry, Daphne, did you have a question? Oh, I know it's not Daphne, but yes, question? Or did you just pop off? Okay. All right. This one you should all be comfortable doing now after the last ones we've done. So there are 2 x's, which means I'm looking for 2 answers. What are my 2 answers for x here? Give me your answers in the comments. As soon as you've got them, chuck them in there for me. Mike, how can I help?
Can I try?
Yes, please. What would my 2 answers be here?
Okay, so your 2 answers would be 0 and 5.
Good. Absolutely. Nice job. So x is going to be equal to 0. That's dealing with that one. Or x minus 5 is going to be equal to 0, which means x is equal to 5. Lovely, Mike. Excellent work.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, for the second answer, ma'am, my x is 5, ma'am, but I put a
Yes.
-5. So is that wrong or is it correct?
Yeah, it's wrong. If you have x is equal to -5, they will mark it wrong.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right, guys, let's try and step it up a little bit now. Let's move into doing some of our own work. So now all of those I had already factorized for you. And now I haven't factorized because they're never going to factorize for you. Was just being nice as we started stepping into this new territory that we were in. So when we factorize, we need to remember our list that we spoke about lots in our last course. What is the first thing we look for when we're doing factorizing? What is the very first thing we look for? I'm looking for 3 letters. Yes, Jahula. Highest common factor. Glorious. What is the second thing we look for?
Dot.
Dots. Yes. Good. What is the third thing we look for?
Trinomial.
Yes, guys. What's the fourth thing we look for?
Grouping.
Grouping. Yes. Okay. Those are the things that we are looking for. So the first thing we're going to look at this question is we've got 2x squared plus 5x, and that's equal to 0. So you're going to see how there's two important things that we need to take from this. First of all, we've got an x squared. And that x squared is telling us that it is a quadratic equation. Okay. When it's a quadratic equation, we know that we are going to get two answers. We know that we are going to need to factorize. And we want it to be equal to 0 on the other side. Okay, so if we have an x squared in our equation and it's not equal to 0, we first need to move everything to one side so that it's equal to 0. But as soon as you see an x squared, these are the things your brain needs to think. I'm going to get two answers. I have to factorize. It needs to be equal to 0. Okay, so in this question, I'm going to talk you through it. Just for those of you who are feeling confused, I will let you do the next one fully by yourself, so don't panic. But if I'm looking at this question, I can see, well, I can take out a highest common factor of x, because there's an x in both of those terms. So I'm going to take out a highest common factor of x, and I'm going to be left with 2x plus 5, which is equal to 0. Now, because that is equal to 0, I'm allowed to say that means that x is equal to 0, or 2x plus 5 is equal to 0. Now we need to solve this linear equation. So I'm going to move my 5 over. So 2x is equal to -5. And then I'm going to divide by my coefficient, which means x is equal to -5 over 2. And so my answers would be 0 and -5 over 2. Okay. Do you feel ready to try one by yourselves? Yes? I'm hoping. Okay. Good. Try and remember my advice here. It's a quadratic. Okay, when it's a quadratic, think about what it needs to be equal to. So the first thing we need to do is we need to move everything to one side and make it equal to 0.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, could you please quickly go back?
Yep. Avuzwa, you know I love hearing your voice, but you got to get better at putting that hand up, my love.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That should be able to help you guys a little bit. I'll keep them both up at the same time. So try and follow this guide over here to give you some help.
Ma'am, can I try?
I just want to give everyone just a little bit longer, but I'll call on you in a minute, Mike. Okay, so we're getting some different answers coming in, which is good. Actually, you know what, Mike? I'm going to talk through this one just because it's a little bit different to the others. Okay, but there'll be questions later that I'll call on you. Thank you for volunteering. Nokobonga, do you have a question, sweetheart?
No, ma'am, I just wanted to answer.
Okay, I'm going to answer this one just because it's a bit different. All right, but I will give you guys chances as we move on. Okay, so the first thing that we needed to see here is that we've got an x squared, which is a quadratic. And so that when we see an x squared, we need to think we need to move everything to one side. Okay, that's very important because we need to make it equal to 0. So our first thing we're going to do is we're going to keep that 4x squared. We're going to move our 3x over. So it's going to become -3x and it's going to be equal to 0. That's going to be our first step. Then we're going to think, okay, well, now we can factorize. And so I'm going to look for a highest common factor. And my highest common factor here is x. So I'm going to take out x, and I'm going to be left with 4x minus 3 is equal to 0. And then, so now I've factorized, I can just take my two answers. So I've got therefore x is equal to 0. We can't forget about him. Or 4x minus 3 is equal to 0. So 4x is equal to 3, which means x is equal to 3 over 4. So those are our two answers. Now we need to be careful not to forget about this x being equal to 0 because it's an x squared, which means it's quadratic, which means we have two answers. Okay, how did this question go? 0 is terrible, 10 is amazing. Well done, Selena, nice. Awesome, guys. Cool. Okay. Let's try. Oh,
Nice one,
guys,
nice one, nice one.
it's puzzle time. Are you ready? I got to warn you that the grade 9's got this puzzle in like 10 seconds. Mr. Shongwe, am I right? It was very quick.
It was very quick.
It was
Probably
very
5
quick.
even.
Yeah. So let's see if you guys can beat her. It was ridiculously quickly how she got it. But let's move on to our puzzle and then we'll move on to some more quadratics. Okay. Let's go. I know it's a bit blurry, but you should be able to see it enough to do. Okay. I'm looking for my answer. You know the drill. As soon as you've got the answer, put it in the chat. Don't try and unmute yourself and say it because then everyone talks at the same time. So as soon as you got an answer, put it in the chat, and first person to get it right is the winner of the day. I'm wanting to know that final line, what it is equal to. It is not 15. It's not 12. It's not 40. It's not 16. It's not 32. It's not 56. Ah!
Oh, there we go.
Ah, and I've missed the name. Who got it right?
I think it's Mluleki.
Yes, well done. You got it right. And then Offense was close behind. It's absolutely 46. Let's go over how we got there. Well done. Geez, that was, yeah, well, you were close, Mike. You were. Okay, let's see how we got there. So first one, our elephants. What was our elephant? Everyone should have been able to get what the elephant was.
6.
Yeah, okay, so our elephant is 6. Cool, which means that this elephant here is 6, which means that these two owls were 8. So what are each of our owls?
4.
Yeah, good. So our owls are 4. Guess we know that that's 4, and we know that this is 6. Now, how many owls do I have?
2.
2, which means this is 8. And then that means that each of these cows must be 5. And over here, I've got 2 cows, which means it's 10. So it's 10 times 4, which is 40, plus 6, which is 46. Nice. Nice job, guys. Okay, let's move back into our quadratics. Okay. Now, a very common mistake that people do here is they'll say, cool, x squared is 81, which means x is equal to 9. Now, that's not wrong. X is equal to 9, but it's a quadratic. And if it's a quadratic, how many answers do I have? 2. Yes, if it's a quadratic, I have 2 answers, which means my answer can't just be equal to 9 because I'm missing one of my answers. So my advice in these situations is whenever you see your x squared, you move everything so that it is equal to 0. Okay, so x squared minus 81 is equal to 0. Now that I have x squared minus 81 is equal to 0, I'm going to think of my factorizing. How can I factorize x squared minus 81? What factorizing could I do?
Dot
Sure.
Dots,
Bolo.
good, good. So that would be x plus 9, x minus 9, which is equal to 0, which means my answers are going to be x is equal to -9 or x is equal to 9. Okay, if you are able to see at this point that when you square root it, you get a positive and a negative answer. So x squared is equal to 81, which means x is equal to positive or negative the square root of 81. So we get positive or -9. If you think you're not going to forget that there's a positive and a negative, then it's absolutely fine to do it this way on the right. But the way on the left ensures that you're not going to forget that there are two different answers. Okay, so the way on the right is a little bit quicker, but sometimes when we do the way on the right, we forget about the -9, and that becomes problematic. All right. Cool. Let's try one by yourselves. I'd like you to do this one for me. When you have your answers, chuck them in the chat for me if you don't mind. Okay, we've got one answer coming in. Let's see if everyone agrees or disagrees. Ngozi, don't worry. I'm not going to rush. Take your time. It's okay. Tubilihle, do you have a question or do you want to give it as an answer?
Can I give the answer, ma'am?
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, what do I need to do?
So must I start?
Yeah.
Oh, you divide everything on the right by 2
Good.
to cancel the 2.
Excellent.
And then you say x minus 4 in brackets and x plus 4.
Good. So we did difference of 2 squares. Good.
And then you get x equals positive 4 and x equals minus 4.
Excellent. Well done. Beautiful. Nice. Where's Canva? Is Canva here? I haven't heard Canva all night. Is he not in our lesson today? Canva, are you here? Oh, there you. Hello. Okay. I was worried you went in the lesson. I got stressed. Okay. Well done, guys. Oh, there's 2 Canvas.
There's 2 Canvas now. There's Canva Tonjeni and Canva. What's your surname?
2 different Canvas. Crazy, crazy. Okay. All right. Let's try another one. Let's move on down to this dude over here. Okay. Step by step. Think it's a quadratic. Move everything. Make it equal to 0. Why is there a no? Who's saying no? No to what?
Brian. Brian says it.
Okay, keep just do your best with this one. It's a quadratic. Oh, Tinashe, sure, I can definitely go back. Just try take a screenshot shot for me. Why would it be weird? It's not weird. You're allowed to know each other. Okay. Cool. I'm going to move back to our second question. All right. It's a quadratic, so we want to move everything and we want to make it equal to 0. Then we want to factorize, and then we want to get our answers for y. Step by step. Don't overthink it. Oksa?
Not going, ma'am.
Oksa?
Oksa, I see your hand is up. Are you going to give me the answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell me what to do.
Okay, ma'am. So you take out the highest, well, you first take the 4y and you take it to the other side and it becomes minus 4y
Good.
equals to 0. And then
Good.
from there, you take out the highest common factor, which is 2y,
Good.
2y, 1y minus 1.
Oh, minus 1.
I'm sorry, minus 2
Yeah.
equals to 0.
Good.
And then from there, you take the 2 and you divide it with the 0, which is and then it's still, which is 0. And then
Yeah.
it's y equals to 0, or y minus 2 equals to 0, which is y equals to 2, or
Perfect.
y
Great.
equals to 0.
That was excellent. So at this point here, you can do exactly as Oksa was saying, and you can divide this side, well, divide this by 2 and divide that by 2. So you would get y is equal to y minus 2, which is equal to 0. Totally fine to do it that way. Or when you get to this point over here, you can actually just say 2y is equal to 0 and y minus 2 is equal to 0, which means y is 0 and y is 2. So both of those are fine. Or you could actually just ignore that 2 if all of those are fine. So y would be 0 and y is 2. That was wonderful. Thank you. Nokubonga, how can I help?
Ma'am, I did the method in a different way, but I got the same answers.
Okay, can you tell me what you did?
If I put the 4 behind the equal sign and it became a negative 4y, but then my highest common factor was y. I didn't take out the 2y, I just took out the y.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you would get to the final answer. Just be careful with that because sometimes it can hurt us in the long run, but that was fine for this question, okay?
Okay, ma'am. Thank
So
you.
Piwe, yours is the same as Nokobonga. If you took out y, it's not the end of the world because you would have gotten to the right answer in this situation, but just be careful to always try and take out the highest one. Okay. Okay. Sego Fatso, how can I help? Oh, no, hands down. No back.
Ma'am,
Hello. Yes.
ma'am. Yeah, I wrote the method in a different way, but I got the same answer.
That's okay. That's okay. If you're feeling confident with it, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Okay. We're actually going to try something a little bit harder than J. Maybe we'll go back to J. Okay. So it's not actually, this is a very nice trinomial, so we should all be happy with it after the amount of time we spent on trinomials. But you've got a trinomial equation over here, and I'm wanting to know what my 2 answers for x are going to be. So just, what are my 2 answers for x? Take your time, factorize, and then tell me what my answers are. And just give me your answers in the chat as soon as you have them coming through. Let's see, are we all agreeing? Are we disagreeing? I can tell you that one of the answers, well, at least one of the answers in the chat is correct so far. If yours are looking similar to those, then you're on the right track. Okay. Does anyone need more time? Just put your little hands up emoji if you need more time. Okay. No problem. Just remember to lower your hand after you've put it up so I don't think you're asking a question. Okay, let's try and go through this one. Fancy, how can I help?
Ma'am, whenever I do these type of equations, I do it wrong. I don't know how to explain it. I don't like the method doesn't look correct, but then my answers are always correct.
Which method are you using for your trinomials?
I use the one that where you like separate the three by using the PSF, but then for some funny reason I can never get like the full answer for like my third line, and then I get the answer straight from there.
Okay, so let's try and break it up step by step, and then you can tell me where yours is looking a little bit different. Okay.
Okay.
So this type of trinomial, we don't need to do the fancy long grouping method that we did for the grade 10 trinomials, because we don't have a coefficient that's greater than 1 over here. So we get to just use that nice easy method that we learned last year, where we can work with our factor pairs of 2, because that's a 1. And our factor pairs for 2, the only factor pairs we have for 2 are 2 and 1. Okay, this is a plus sign, which means our signs need to be the same, and we're trying to get to 3, which means they both need to be pluses. And so we're just going to have x plus 2, x plus 1 is equal to 0. Now the other way, since we've learned crisscrosses, this would be a nice easy one to do a crisscross with. So for our first ones over here, we're using our x squared, so that's going to be x and x. And for these over here, we're using our constant, which is 2. And so I would have 2 and 1. And remember, we multiply diagonally. So x times 2 is 2x, and x times 1 is 1x. And if I add those together, I get 3x. Okay. And our brackets are that and that. Okay. So this is using your factor pairs. And this is using your crisscross. Both ways we get to the same place. We land up getting to these two brackets, x plus 2, x plus 1 is equal to 0. And so then our final answer is going to be x is negative 2 and x is negative 1. Okay. Offense, can you let me know where the line that you got to before?
Okay, I basically did and then it was x squared plus 2x in a bracket, and then minus open brackets x minus 2 brackets, and then immediately from there I got the answer, but I'm not necessarily sure from how.
Yeah, you know what's happening though, sweetheart, I think. So you're trying to do your big grouping method with these questions, but it's as soon as this coefficient is a 1, rather just try and stick to the easy way of doing your trinomials, because it will take much less time. So either if you're not comfortable with crisscross, then just do the way that we learned in grade 9 with your factor pairs and break up that last constant into its factor pairs to try and get to this number.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I think I saw Avuswa's hand, but then it disappeared.
Ma'am, it's okay. I was asking Mr. Shongwe a question, ma'am.
Okay, cool. Amanda, how can I help? No, Amanda's gone.
Yeah,
No, hello.
I wanna ask about how this crisscross method works.
Okay, so let's go through this one sort of step by step for those of you who are feeling confused with crisscross, and then I'll let you guys try the next one by yourselves. Okay, so for crisscross, what we're doing is, let me just write this question here. I've got x squared plus 3x plus 2. Okay, when we're doing our crisscross, that's x squared, or when we have a coefficient in front of it, whatever coefficient it would be, when I multiply these two terms together, I need to get x squared. So I know that x times x is going to give me x squared. That's how I determine what's going to be on the left-hand side of my crisscross. On the right-hand side of my crisscross, I have to, when I multiply them together, I have to get 2, positive 2. Okay, so if I use 2 and 1, I can see that I'm going to get 2. That's how I determine what. And I could also have written 1 and 2. And sometimes we have to be careful with what those numbers are when we get into the harder ones. But basically, the right-hand side of our crisscross is just the factors of the constant. Okay. Then our goal is we're trying to get this middle term. And so when I multiply opposite each other, and x times 1 is 1x, and x times 2 is 2x. I'm trying to get positive 3x, which means that must be plus 1, and that must be plus 2, because positive x plus 2x is equal to 3x, which is what we're wanting. Okay, and once we've done our crisscross, this is our first bracket and this is our second bracket. They just take time and practice, but I hope that that's made them a little bit clearer for those of you who are struggling. But it does take practice. Okay. All right, let's try another one. Good, Nakabonga, I'm glad. Okay, first step, it is a quadratic, which means you got to move everything to one side and make it equal to 0. So move everything onto one side, make it equal to 0, solve your trinomial, whichever method you would like to. And then give me your answers once you're confident with them. So just remember your steps. I'm just going to write them down here on the side while you're working. First, let's just wait a little bit, Mike. But then, yes, I'll call on you in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, Mike, talk us through. What am I going to do? What's the first thing I'm going to do?
Okay, ma'am. So you take the 6 to the left-hand side and
Good.
becomes -6.
Excellent. Okay. Next step.
Okay, next step, ma'am. Then you write y as a difference. So like it's gonna be 3y minus 2y.
Okay, so are you working with your factors of 6 here?
Yes.
Okay, so I've got 1 and 6 and I've got 2 and 3. So which one of those factor pairs is going to give me positive 1?
Positive 1 is gonna be plus 3y, like it's gonna be 3.
So it's going to be plus 3 and then
Yes.
minus 2.
Yes.
Okay, so what am I going to write in my brackets over here?
So in the back, you're gonna write y.
Yeah.
Open brackets, y plus 3.
Good.
And then also y plus 3.
Not y plus 3 now. So I've done y plus 3 already.
Oh no, sorry. Y I think y minus 2.
Yeah, there we go, because we're going to use these pairs over here. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so now once I'm there, what would my 2 answers for y be?
So your 2 answers, y is gonna be equal to -3.
Good.
Or y is equal to positive 2.
Good. Excellent work, Mike. Nice job. Good. Okay, we are making progress, guys. Does anyone need to sit on this? Just show me with a little emoji if you do. Just cool, no problem. Okay, I think we're going to try one more for the evening and then it's your quiz day. Nokubonga, hello.
Ma'am, I just wanted to ask, is it compulsory to always write or?
No, it's just beta.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Where's this going? Okay. Let's see. It's already on one side, so I've done the first step for you. So now you just have to factorize and then give me your answers for x. Okay, we've got some answers coming in. Oxa, I see your hand is up. Are you wanting to answer this one?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. Talk me through.
Okay, ma'am. So first so it's gonna be I don't know how to say it in English, so yeah. But
That's
either
okay.
way,
So we're going to work with our factor pairs of 10. So we've got 1 and 10 and 2 and 5.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so you're gonna have the factors you're gonna be using is -5 and -2.
Good.
And so it's gonna be a bracket x -2. I mean x
Yeah.
-5, another bracket x -2. Oh, you already wrote that,
Cool.
x -5.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which way they are. Perfect. So then what are my answers going to be?
Which is x equals to 2 or x equals to 5.
Yay. Nice. Excellent. So I see a couple of people got the signs wrong. So just double check how yours went and make sure that your signs are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Just double check them for me.
Ma'am,
Carabello, hello?
isn't a negative times a negative a positive?
A negative times a negative is a positive, but we're not multiple. So this negative and that negative over there, that's giving us this positive 10.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Sure. Fancy, hello. No? Hello? Okay. I think we're going to have to call it a night there, and we're going to need to move into our quiz. So I'm actually going to pass you guys over to Mr. Shongwe so he can help you get onto the quiz for this week. And when I see you again on Tuesday, we're going to sort of step up a little bit of these quadratics. So we're going to bring in more of the things that we learned this year, like grouping and the sort of the more harder trinomials. We're going to do all of those on Tuesday. Okay. But you've done really well today. Thank you so much for the lesson. I'm really proud of you all. And on to you, Mr. Strongway, they're all yours.
All right, ladies and gents,